I feel like if Cliff Avril is only remembered as a football player, I failed.
Welcome to Beyond the Game, Wealth Mastery for Athletes. I'm Kris Benson, private equity real estate investor, and I'm joined by 9-year NFL vet Alec Ogletree. Beyond the Game is a podcast where we will provide a playbook for financial growth both on and off the field. Join us each week as we'll have in-depth conversations with other pro athletes as they walk us through how they've created wealth beyond the game, both on and off the field. They're going to share their triumphs, lessons learned, and setbacks along the way so that you don't make the same mistakes. Join us. I think you're going to have a lot of fun. Cliff Avril, welcome to Beyond the Game today. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys.
Cliff Avril, 10-year NFL vet. Alec, do you see what's behind him on the table? I don't know if you saw it.
I do. Yeah. I think I'd like to say I helped him get that. I at least gave him a good challenge to get it so they could go get it.
For those of you who are just listening, Cliff has his Super Bowl trophy on the countertop behind him. Looks pretty flashy. He also has an incredible painting of himself that his wife commandeered for him upon his retirement. It's pretty baller when you have a painting of yourself behind you in the background. I like it. It's well played, Cliff. Well played.
I appreciate it. You know, it's funny because I'm usually not one to have any painting because, you have business and different things like that. But it's a conversation starter. Like I said, the story is my wife threw me a retirement party and she had an artist come in. And within the time frame of the party, this artist was able to paint this painting. So it's a good topic. There's just an icebreaker. It's an icebreaker.
And it's fire, though. It is fire, though. Shouts out to the missus, looking out for you,
Cliff, we have so much to cover in the context of you. I think I'm more interested in beyond the football career, although you've had an incredible football career as well. But I want to start with something that I saw on your Instagram page that was one of those, look, this is going to be a social media clip for the podcast, but this is one that I'm going to take home to my kids, too. I'm just going to read you the quote, and I want you to react and tell me, how did you incorporate this into your life? And the quote is, "Excuses are monuments of nothingness. Those who specialize in them rarely amount to anything." Just give me a little bit of background. That is just such a punch in the throat. Who originally told you that, and how did you kind of buy into it?
My high school basketball coach. I remember it was just one summer. I guess I was giving a bunch of excuses. I don't know. But I was big into hoops, and he had me running gassers until I remembered the quote, to the point where, I could not remember it. So I had to run back into the locker room, ask one of my teammates after, my 10th one, come back out, still messed it up. So kept running. And since then, it's been ingrained in me, man. And I live by that, to the point where both of my boys, 12 and 8, both of them know the definition of it. I don't play by excuses. We gonna be accountable to ourselves, and we're gonna make sure we know what an excuse is. So that's one of my fundamental values right there, man. We do not play that. Excuses are excuses are monuments of nothingness. Those who specialize in them rarely amount to anything.
That's fire though, because I was telling Kris, I was like, my mom said basically the same thing, but hers is like, excuses are tools of incompetence. Those who use them seldom accomplish anything. And so when Kris said, I was like, bro, I heard the exact same thing, but I wasn't running gases though.
Yeah, man. I learned the hard way.
I was probably being a knucklehead in school or doing something like that, saying, my thing was saying it's the teacher fault.
Oh, yeah. It's always somebody else's fault. Always somebody else.
I don't want to hear no more excuses.
Cliff, did you incorporate that right then, or was it something that you kind of came back to as you matured? Because that's a pretty profound statement for a 17, 18-year-old to say, all right, that's going to be a core pillar of my life.
No, I think I learned it, but then when I started, because it's one thing to actually hear it and then like learning what it actually means is another thing, right? So like the gassers, I'm just trying to memorize what this man wants me to remember. But it was probably like my senior year, maybe my freshman year of college, where I started playing, and I'm like, oh, rarely amount to anything. Like if you continue to have these things, like it's a high possibility it's going to be a crutch for you. So I would say probably right around my freshman year, sophomore year of college, where it's like, nah, man, like be accountable to self and stop having excuses, stop pointing the finger at why things aren't necessarily working your way. And then it's just been a core pillar of mine, like I said, to the point where, I mean, my oldest son learned it at 5. Like, hey, man, we're not doing that. We're not starting off with making sure we can use different reasons for why things aren't happening your way. Be accountable to self, stop having excuses, and let's go make something happen.
Yeah. No, that's perfect because, you know, nothing in life it's just life. Nothing in life is perfect. It's not gonna be easy. Like you're gonna have mistakes. You're gonna mess up. But
it's gonna be adversity. It's gonna be obstacles.
That's a part of it. That's a part of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as a case in point, you get to the championship, to the Super Bowl, like it wasn't just an easy journey. And like Kris, like I was looking on your Instagram as well, and I saw that you was talking to somebody. You said it to somebody, but you were like, in the locker room, you know, I think you said you and Bennett would control the music basically and be like, are we playing what you said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right?
Yeah.
So just tell me like kind of what sparked you guys to do that. Like I get it. You know, you said you kind of fell into the OG role of things, like, no, like this is some really important stuff that you may need to learn, but like every locker room is not like that. Every locker room, they don't.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
Well, you know, right? Like in the locker room, there's a couple topics that just are off limits. We ain't gonna talk about our finances. We ain't gonna talk about religion. You know what I'm saying? And that's actually just families in general, friends. Like for whatever reason, we stray away from the conversations. But as the OG in the locker room, and again, this is only like year 6, year 7 at the time, so it wasn't like I was really that old. You know what I'm saying? But I had a bunch of young guys. Richard Sherman is only a year 2. Bobby Wagner, that's his rookie year. Like all these guys are still young. But like myself, Red Bryant, Michael Bennett, Marshawn, all of us would always talk about just different things that we was doing with our money. You know what I mean? Whether it's investing or just wrapping our mind around like, hey man, how do we not be on 30 for 30? You know what I'm saying? Like just having the conversations. And then, like I said, just being one of the older guys is like, man, I had just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad for the first time. And it just was like, whoa, okay, this is how I need to process things. You know what? We're not playing rap today. We're not playing Boosie. We're not playing a Lil Baby or nothing like that. No, we listen to Robert Kiyosaki today, man. We'll play just different books. And, you know, it's like, oh, man, we ain't trying to hear that right now. You know, whatever. Hey, I just want to give you the tools that I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm big on just sharing my experience. I'm big on just making sure that as the older person that I'm just giving you my experience. So maybe you don't have to experience some of the things that I've experienced. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what some of my old heads did for me. So it was a lot of pushback at times, but we didn't care because you ain't about to come change the station. I know that.
You ain't going to change the station.
so you about to have hey, put your AirPods into something. But you want to
get your work done.
Wait, Cliff. You got to help me understand. That's a big jump. You're 27, maybe? You're 6 years in, so you're what, 27 at the point? So how did you get to Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Because for me, and Cliff, just a little bit of background, we do private equity real estate and self-storage. We buy a bunch of self-storage properties across the Southeast. And for me, the story of passive income was told by Robert Kiyosaki and like a bunch of guys. Yeah. Where did it get introduced to you? And why were you at the point where you were ready to listen?
Well, so year 6, year 7, you know, we're at the height of our career. We're, you know, one of the top teams in the league. But physically, I was like, man, I know I don't have another 7 years left in me. You know what I'm saying? I know I don't have another 6 years left in me. I like, just things start hurting. You know what I'm saying? It's getting a little harder to roll out of bed and all these other things. So it's like, now it's like, okay, start thinking about the end. Because when you're young, you can't think past tomorrow. You think you're going to play forever. You know what I mean? But year 6, year 7, I'm still kind of playing at a high level. But again, I just know I don't have another 7 years left in me. So now it's like, okay, well, let's figure this thing out. And I used to hear about mailbox money all the time. Mailbox money, man, you got to try to find, like, just random people that I would meet with, mailbox money. which is cash flow. You know what I mean? It's passive income. So I started investing in, syndications and funds and different things like that. But that was also, honestly, I was introduced to some of that stuff from Marshawn Lynch. You know what I mean? Like, he was already in that space already, right? Because, again, we're having the conversations. Now it's like, just get understanding of what these conversations mean. And as I start diving into, okay, well, I want to make sure that I'm able to sustain the lifestyle that I'm living now when I'm done. That sounds like I need to start investing a little bit wiser and investing for cash flow and whatever else the case may be. So I just started just doing my own research during the off season. I'm taking courses. I'm taking financial courses. I'm taking accounting courses. I'm taking, business courses or whatever it may be. Because I think as athletes, sometimes we give ourselves excuses, going back to that, of why we can't do things during the off season. It's like, oh man, the off season is too short. You want to go on vacations and this and that. But it's like, you can take 3 weeks out your off season to learn something new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You might not dive into it and become a pro at it, but just open your mind to it. And I'm big on being accountable for what happens to my money. Again, we hear all these stories about guys going broke. And a lot of times, sometimes the money gets stolen. Sometimes they blow it or whatever the case may be. I'd rather be responsible for my money going and blowing it than saying my financial advisor took it all from me or whatever. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to learn more about money. And it's not a conversation most families are having. It's not black. I don't even think it's a black or white thing. I think it's just an America thing. Like, we don't have conversations about money.
It's not in our schools.
It's not in the school system.
The financial literacy piece. I mean, we could probably have a whole podcast about why, but no, it's ridiculous that you have to figure it out on Rich Dad Poor Dad. Alec talked about he figured out what taxes were when he got his signing bonus, and most of it wasn't in his check.
First year in the league.
Same thing, bro.
Well, looking crazy. I was like, man, what is this?
Bro, I remember having the conversation with my agent my rookie year. After I just got drafted, he called me like 2 weeks later. I didn't even realize we were slotted. Like we already, our contracts are pretty much already written out depending on where you're going to get drafted at. And he calls me. He's like, yeah, man, I got you a 3-year deal. I think it's like for $1.2 million. You got 300 guaranteed or something like that, or 400 guaranteed, whatever it was. And then I get my signing bonus probably 2 weeks later. And I get my check. Mind you now, regardless, it's still the most money I've ever seen in my life, right? And I'm like, I call my agent, I'm like, hey, when they gonna send the other half of my check? You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, how much was it? And I'm like, I tell him, I think it was like 230,000 or something like that. He's like, how much was it? I'm like, 230,000. He's like, oh no, that's it. That's all of it right there. Mm-hmm. Oh, on top of that, you still owe me my 3%.
You still owe me 3%.
What? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, who is FICA? Who is such a what is all this stuff? Never learned about taxes, man. I had to learn that at the age of 22. You know what I mean? And again, like we just said, it's not taught in the school system. I say this all the time, man. Like I send my kids I'm fortunate enough I send them to private schools or whatever. And even in those sectors, they're not learning about financial literacy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's when it was a light bulb to me. It's like, it's just an American thing. Like it's not a thing that they teach. And I think it's important for us to learn about it and then give the game back.
Yeah.
Where did that come from for you, Cliff? Like that desire for that knowledge? Because a lot of guys don't have it, right? Like, and it's not just in the game, in traditional professional world as well. A lot of guys just say, I'm going to invest in my 401k. I'm just going to put that money, let somebody else manage it. And then they just go to work.
That's the easy thing to do. I think for me, it was more, again, being accountable to myself because it's hard to make the money that we were making. Obviously everybody only sees the finished product on Sundays, but no one sees that grind, Monday through Saturday. No one sees those, the masseuse and everything else. But for me, it was just, again, being accountable to self. But then honestly, I learned from my parents too. Right. And what I mean by that, they didn't necessarily know about financial. They didn't necessarily know they knew about financial literacy or that I was paying attention to it. But like, I used to watch my dad, he would put crazy hours in at work at the job he was working at. But then on the weekends, he would flip cars. Like he was good at painting cars and different things like that. So he was an entrepreneur himself. You know what I mean? He just didn't call it that. He just didn't know that's what it was, especially being from having a Haitian background, a Haitian culture. A lot of entrepreneurs, but they just don't call it that. They don't even realize that that's what they do. But again, for me, it was just following their lead and understanding I just didn't want to work as hard as they did once I was done.
My dad says a hustler.
Yeah.
Call him hustling.
Hey, man,
yeah.
Hustling, man.
Get your hustle on. Hey, get your grind on, whatever it is that you're doing.
You have to. And then also understanding, I think the big thing too is like, I don't want to be dependent of the system. And what I mean by the system is what really sparked my interest and what made it clear to me is like, if you think about 2020, the pandemic hits, there was probably a bunch of people that were about to retire. You know what I'm saying? And then their 401k just plummets, their retirement plan plummets. All these things go downhill. You were depending on, the system that kind of was put in place. And then boom, now these people still probably have to work until, they're probably bounced back by now, but these people still had to work. So to me, again, being accountable in the sense of like, I want to create my own cash flow. And I want to create something that's not necessary. Like, people are always going to need somewhere to live. And I'm into the real estate space, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But people are always going to need somewhere to live. So at a minimum, I will still receive checks. I will still get some of that mailbox money to be able to sustain the bad times and not necessarily depend on what the market's doing.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it goes back to exactly what you started with your high school coaches. It's easy for people to say, the market's down. I can't. The market's down. It's an excuse. Right? It's like, well, dude, you own that. You're putting your time in to understand, like, to create that wealth for yourself. You have to own what the outcome is going to be as well. Like, I think you just hit the nail right on the head, which is it comes back to it's America, and maybe even broader than that. It might just be human beings.
But let me add one more thing to that too. Like, I think everything that I've learned comes from football. Everything that, like, it's just all about applying the same mindset that you had in football to whatever other space. I'm a firm believer that, especially professional athletes, but NFL players in particular, because I say this all the time too, is like, the NFL is probably one of the most cutthroat businesses in the country. Yeah, guys make a lot of money, but like, we finally got to see, they finally kind of peeled back the curtains a little bit with this whole Russell Wilson thing, right? Well, how cutthroat it really is. But honestly, outside of quarterbacks, everybody's been dealing with that their entire career. You know what I mean? Whether it's, take less and then they end up cutting you anyways, or, take a little bit less on your signing bonus or discounts, for the team, but then they cut you anyway. You know what I mean? So I've learned business from the NFL. Now it's all about applying it in other spaces, right? And my mentality as far as for no excuses. Like in the NFL locker room, nobody don't care about what you got going on at home. Nobody don't care about how you feel. Can you play? Can you go get the sack today? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like
I do care, but I don't care. Like, none of that matter right now. Like, yes, I care about you as a human, but in this moment right now, none of that matters.
None of it matters. Listen,
I don't care. I got stuff too.
I got stuff going on too. Exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? So to me, that's how I approach business, in a sense of not being shrewd or nothing like that, but like just not having any excuses, find a way to get through it. Because there's times I don't even know how I played in some games with how bad my back was or how I was feeling. But mental toughness is real. And that's what you learn in the league, man. You got to be mentally tough to be able to make it through.
No, definitely. It's a lot of, like you said, a lot of great points that you just learned from the sport of playing football and even just sports in general, just kind of how it court, especially when you play at a high level, how it transitions from, like you said, playing the game to what you're doing now in the real estate. So as we transition forward to the real estate game, what was your first opportunity, I guess you would say, into the real estate game was what you're doing, right? So,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so like I said, my first opportunity again was conversation with Marshawn and Richard Sherman and Mike B, and we're talking about just different Red Bryant as well, who's big into that. Just talking about again that passive income. So now it's like, okay, well, how do we create that? Because 90% of our time is in the locker room. So how do we create that? Learn more about it. So like I said, I would invest in syndications. I would invest in funds, and all of them did well. You get your little 7%, 8%, 6%, depending on the market or whatever. But when I retired, I started kind of peeling back the onion and like just diving into the weeds of it. What I've learned with America in general, this is not even just on the investment side, is you pay for convenience. You know what I'm saying? And an example is, you can go to Chick-fil-A and get you that chicken sandwich. It's gonna cost you $15, but you probably could have went to Whole Foods and made it, and it probably would have cost you, that $15 could have made 5 or 6 different meals. You know what I'm saying? So you pay for convenience, and that's in any space. And it's the same thing with being a LP, a passive investor. Like everyone before you has to get paid. The person that put the fund together, all these different fees, like everybody has to get paid before you, and then you get your share. So what I learned was like, instead of making 7 or 8%, if I did it myself, I could probably make 15, 20%, as long as you learn the game, of course, learn the markets and whatever else. So now it's like, okay, I just got to put the time in to learn this. And so that was kind of the kickstart. Once I retired, I was doing media. I was, because we felt like, as athletes, we feel like that's what we should roll into next. You know what I'm saying? Like, go do ESPN, go do Fox.
I never understood that. I never understood that. I never understood why people wanted to do that. Like, he'd be so mad at these people. And then he turn around and go work with it.
Because it's crazy because it becomes another locker room. You're competing for 3-4 different spots, and it's 1,000 guys that's retiring every year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? so it was just like, and then the crazy part is like you might work your tail off, and you gradually work your way up, and then Tom Brady decides he wants to retire, and he hops over everybody.
He already got a deal signed.
He already got a deal. You know
prior to retirement.
You know what I'm saying? So that was fun, but I just dove deeper into it, man. I was meeting a lot of people here in Seattle that was doing it. That's another thing I was gonna say is like out here in Seattle, I was exposed to a lot too. You know what I mean? Obviously, winning the Super Bowl, it allows you to kind of get into the community, and you start meeting these guys that guys that sold their company for X amount of dollars, and tech guys that have sold their companies for X amount of dollars, and all of them, everybody I was meeting own real estate. I'm like, man, why? I didn't understand it. So I just started doing my own research, whether it's, the tax benefits, the cash flow, the wealth generation point, being able to create more wealth from real estate. So now it's like, okay, let's learn some more about this and let's see why it makes sense. And then I've been on it ever since.
Cliff, you brought up a super important point about being a passive investor and why. And I'm going to kind of defend a little bit because we have syndications, right? At my company, we have 2,000 investors in our platform. Alec's an investor, right? That's how I know Alec. And you are paying us to do nothing, right? Like you're paying for that convenience, and there's value in that. And the first conversation we have with everybody who kind of is new to real estate investing is, look, you have to make a decision if you want to be a passive investor, which is fine. Like if you're a orthopedic surgeon, you make $1 million a year and you don't want to learn real estate, well, go make your $1 million a year. You can deploy some with us. You're going to make less money because we got to make money too. We're doing all the work. But if you want to be an active investor, which is where you have gone, you can absolutely make more money. I don't know the downside, but the trade-off is you got to go learn it. And everybody knows the 10,000 hour rule, right? Like you get put 10,000 hours in to be an expert. You guys have put your 10,000 hours in to be football players. And Cliff, maybe you're at that point now or close to it where you've put your 10,000 hours in to be a real estate expert. I think where people get in trouble is, especially guys like you who high ego, very successful. It's like, I'll figure that out. And it's easy to lose money when you just kind of walk in blindly and be like, I can do this. And we've had a number of guys on the show talk about it too, right? Where the ego sort of blinds them. It's like, dude, I'm a man. Like, I just won a Super Bowl. I can do this. Yeah. And that's why you're paying. Yeah, just a point of clarification. I think it's critical for people to understand in their own head, do I want to be an active investor? You can. Mm-hmm. And if it gets you fired up to get out of bed every morning, man, put your 10,000 hours in, go get it. But if you're like, nah, I like real estate, but I want somebody else to do the work, go find that operator you can trust and deploy the capital with because they've already made the mistakes you're going to make.
I agree 1,000%. And I'm definitely not telling you, hey, just jump in and go buy the next building you see or something. No, like there's definitely work that goes into it. But again, my approach is not even more so the ego perspective. I'm just looking at my career as an NFL athlete, as a football player. And I even did this when I played. This is crazy, Alec. You'll find this interesting. I did this. I think my 5th year is when like the light switch came on for me in the NFL. Like where it's like, oh, I deserve to be here. And not only do I deserve to be here, I think I could be one of the more elite players at my position. Like the game is slowing down. I'm reading stuff. I'm reading stances. I'm reading all these different things. Right. And I had just heard about the quote about the 10,000 hours or whatever. And I added up, this is crazy. And it was a rough estimate, but I added up just practice hours from that point on all the way back to college. And I was right around 10,000 hours. And I was like, oh, shoot, this is what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because and I was a late bloomer too. I didn't even count high school because I didn't start playing football till 10th grade. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But my 3.5 years in college and then my 5 years in the pros is when that 10,000 mark hit. And that's when everything just kind of slowed down. And I was like, man, I was just like, dang, it was eye-opening to me, for real. Like, it was just like, oh, this 10,000 hour thing is real. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's so real. It's so real. And it's just like you said, it's the same thing as you go into the business where it's like, I was talking to one of my partners the other day and like he got to start in his business. I'm like, dude, everybody not going to win the Super Bowl their first year. Like,
no.
That ain't how to work. That ain't how it work. Like, no, you gonna have to put your time in. Some of them gonna be some hard times. You gotta decide whether this is something that you really want to do or not do. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna come and go. If you keep riding that wave like this, dude, you'll never be successful at it. But if you can find a rhythm, hey, just stay down. Let me just keep working at this. Let me stay in it. Eventually you're going to figure out, like you said, it slow down for you. You understand what's the play, what I need to do. Some stuff don't even phase you no more that you found so important. You're like, man, that ain't nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even know why you worried about that.
I'm going to add one more thing to that, though. I think what gets you through that, though, is passion. You got to like it. Because for me, I think I heard it was Nas, and I might mess this quote up, but he was like, basically he said, you never, this is going to sound crazy, you never lose women chasing money, but you always lose money chasing women, right? And to me, it was more along the lines of like, be passionate about what you do and everything else will work itself out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm going to phrase it one more way. Have a why. Like, what's the why? Yep. That's like, and it can be, you can apply that to anything. It can be football, 1,000%. It could be work, family. The crazy part is, I think for you guys, and Cliff, you're almost my age. I'm 43, so I'm a little bit older. Everybody I talk to, Alec talks about being an OG, and he's like 28. I'm like,
bro, the craziest thing ever. I'm telling you, I went to New York. They started calling me OG, literally like my 6th or 7th year. I said, man, what?
They call me Uncle Cliff. What?
But I think what you find too as you get older is the only thing you have that really matters is time, right? Yeah. You guys have been fortunate to make some money. I've been fortunate to make some money. It doesn't make you happy, right? And the thing that really matters is, do you have the freedom to spend time the way that you want to, and where do you want to spend your time? And back to your point of kind of putting your 10,000 hours in, you got to know, like, you only have so many 10,000 hour blocks in your life. Do you want one of them to be, I'm going to be a real estate investor? Great. Go learn it. Put your time in. But, we only have 4 or 5 of these in our existence. So you got to decide, like, do I have a why behind that I'm going to go put my 10,000 hours in? And that's the decision, I think, as you get older, you start to realize, well, shit, if this is going to take me 5 years to do, there's a big opportunity cost that's attached to that.
1,000%. But I'll also add to that, though, like, fortunate for Alec, fortunate for me, fortunate for you as well, right? I think to be able to get the second 10,000 hour, we've already, at least how I approach it is, I've already set standards in a sense of, like, understanding, okay, you got to be passionate, you got to be disciplined, right? To be able to do that. So now, like, for me, as an example, like, I have time blocks. And again, I'm fortunate enough to be able to kind of have, create my own schedule or whatever, but I have time blocks of this is when I'm going to work on what I want to work on, right? I work from 9 to 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is family time from that point on, right? But I know I can get as long as I'm head down, being disciplined, working, and I'm not on my phone, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be, like, I can get my hours in, but I can continue to keep learning. I'm big. We talked about quotes earlier. I tell my kids all the time, hey, ain't no finish line to learning. ain't no finish line. The day you think you learned it all is the day you probably
don't got it.
You ain't got it no more.
You just don't got it.
It's the same thing as an athlete. It's the same thing as an athlete. Like the day you think you figured it all out is probably the end of your career. You know what I'm saying? So like that's my approach on everything and how I move. So with real estate, podcasts, whatever it may, like it's always something about. I'm always about learning. I want to learn from people. I want to consume. I'm a sponge. I've never had a problem humbling myself to be in any space to be able to just shut up and listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think as you talked about ego earlier, Kris, that is sometimes our problem is like we feel like we know it all. We don't need to learn because we done did this, we done did that. Nah, I'm big on. I want to be the brokest person in the room. I want to be. I just want to be in spaces where I can just sit there and just listen to conversations because you'll learn so much by just shutting up.
Yeah. Tell me 3 times.
Exactly. Tell me 3 times. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, you know. And part of that, so as you know, as we keep kind of moving and talking in this conversation, I heard you say, you know, you had the opportunity to meet all these different people, you know, after winning and all this stuff in the Super Bowl, this, that, and other. Even just going to school, like you went to Purdue, like you meet people, you're an athlete, you all of this, right? So one of the things that I think a lot of us kind of struggle with is that networking, like how to actually network with people in the business world, right? Because a lot of times you are like, as an athlete, like, yes, you have that persona of an athlete, all of this stuff, whatever. But at the same time, you probably more interested in whatever they got going on versus, you know, talking about football at all day. How would you suggest, you know, people learn, you know, networking skills like that?
I think it goes back to ego, but more so than anything, man, like I had to learn because I was very standoffish my first couple years in the league. Like I don't want to be around nobody that want to talk about football all day and all this other stuff. Then I had to come to the realization that what we do is unique, right? What we were able to do is extremely unique. And if this business person wants to talk to me because I play football, I'm going to parlay that and ask questions too. You know what I'm saying? Like the light bulb clicked again when I got here to Seattle, when I started meeting people. I literally had somebody do this to me. I met with them. And you know, wealthy people can be arrogant too. Like people just put that on athletes. Like wealthy people, you know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? So I bump into this guy and we talking, and he's like, you know, they hit you with you know, I didn't know you played ball or whatever. You know, all these different things and kind of chopping it up. And now, you know, that he knows I played ball, won the Super Bowl. Now you could tell he's kind of, you know, brightening up a little bit and smiling.
The conversation changes.
The conversation changes, right? Then somehow we got to talk about finances or something like that. And he low-key laughed at the amount of money that I've made so far in my career. He's like, oh, that's cute. I made that last year with my company. You know what I'm saying? So now to me it's like, whoa, wait up. You made how much money and you didn't have to go run into somebody? Like you didn't have to
like what? Say that again. You're lying. I know you lying.
I know you lying. You know what I'm saying? And then so now I'm interested. So now I'm like, okay, he's happy and excited that I play ball. I'm happy and excited to know that, you know, he's doing his thing in this space. Now I'm going to parlay me playing ball to having conversations with people. Like, if that's going to get me in the room, I can take care of the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay being in spaces, parlaying and using the fact that I play ball to be able to learn from people that are doing other things that are killing it in whatever space. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I learned how to, that's really how I learned how to network. Like, I'm so comfortable now going into any space. I don't care if I'm the only black dude in the space. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll walk in there and I'm going to observe and see what's up. And then we'll have the conversation. And I don't even bring up football. But as soon as I do, I can tell your energy changed. And I want to dive deeper into what you do too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just use it. Like, I don't have a problem with that. And for us as athletes, sometimes, again, I've been there where it's like, man, I don't want to talk to people because all they want to do is talk about football. I'm much more than that. Well, I'm about to show you I'm much more than that, but I'm going to let you know I play ball too. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of like using it as like an icebreaker too.
Yeah.
Like, in a sense of a thing. It's a perfect icebreaker. Like, yeah, like, okay, this guy, he don't know me from out of me. He's most of the time he probably think he's something stupid or whatever. Some just athlete, he don't know shit or whatever. But then, okay, yeah, we talk a little football, but then, okay, so yeah, tell me what you do again. How do you do that? You know,
and,
you get
and Alec,
like,
most people want to help.
Yeah.
If they've been successful in whatever field it is, they want to talk about them, right? When guys come up and like, you know, Kris, how's private equity real estate work? I want to tell you. Most people, like, that's the next phase of their career, right? The standoffishness goes away, and there's the how do we give back? How do we take people with us, you know, to teach them what we've learned? Because somebody did it for us, right? There's somebody who gave it to us along the way, and it's how do you bring the most number of people? There's a great book called Integrity, and the guy in the book, Dr. Henry Cloud, talks about your wake in life. When you think about a boat kind of going through the water, the boat leaves the wake behind, and we're all these little boats, and it's, well, how big do you want your wake to be? And, you know, the more people you can tag along, like Alec, what I would say with networking too is, man, people are all in the same boat. You know, like, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, athlete, professional, whatever, but everybody wants to learn. Or if they're in the room, they probably want to learn.
No, most definitely.
Cliff, did you transition when you retired? What was that first step where you went out and did your first direct deal? And what I'm most interested in is, how did you learn how to underwrite the deal? Like, was it's I know you're doing a bunch of spec housing now, but what was the first? Like, what was the first deal where you're like, all right, I'm going to do this?
So the first deal that I did by myself was actually a condo. So I'll get to underwriting here in a second, but I knew, like I said, I knew I wanted to get into real estate. I'm big on crawling before you walk, right? A lot of gurus would say, oh, go big, go home. Like, you know, the Grant Cardones of the world, like, oh, no, go after the 300 units. It's like, bro, I don't even know how to handle my own house. Like, how do you go after 300 units? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm big on crawling before you walk. And I understand why the thought is that now, but that's bad. I think it's bad advice. So I knew I wanted to get into the space. I wanted to get something small that I can kind of just take my lumps on, right? If I lose this money, it ain't gonna hurt me too much. I'll be mad, but you know, there's a cost of learning too, right? Hard knocks. So I also understand that that's a part of the game. So what I did was I bought a condo, fully furnished it, and I only rented to athletes. I only rented to the Seahawks players, right? So I knew the market, I knew what they wanted, I knew what they needed. And I also knew their schedule, which means they wouldn't tear my property up either, right? Like, they're never there, right? So that was my first step. Now we talk about underwriting. I was Googling. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm looking at different apps. Okay, you know, your expenses, your income, kind of understanding vacancy and all these different things. So I'm diving into it. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And it's kind of easy, but it's a little bit more in depth than that. But that worked for that project and that property that I had initially bought. I still own it, still rent out to the guys or whatever. So that was my first one. The first year goes by, I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm cash flowing decently. I'm making like 13 to 14% of my money. I'm like, okay, this is solid. They not even caught. And I was also the property manager, like, which kind of scared me a little bit at first. Yeah, which scared me at first. But I'm like,
Cliff's coming over after practice with the plunger. He's cleaning out, cleaning the toilets.
Yeah, I'm calling people at this point. But I wanted to be the property manager because I wanted to learn what it feels like to be a property manager. So when I hire one, I know what to expect from them, right? Mm-hmm. So I bought that one. I'm like, okay, this is going well. You know, like I said, I'm making 13, 14% on my money. Cool, let's buy another one. That one doesn't go as well because now I'm not thinking about location. Well, I'm thinking about location from distance from the practice facility, but not location of where that property is actually at. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's only 10 minutes away from the practice facility. Cool. But the area is not that great. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, the guys are like, yeah, bro, I don't even want to leave my car parked outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot, like, now I'm like, oh, I got to think about location. I got to think about the market. I got to think about all these different things. So, you know, you're just learning as you go. I still own that property, but it doesn't cash flow nowhere near as much as the property I was just talking about, right? So, but even owning those two, it was like, man, how do you scale this? Okay, you know, I'm talking to brokers and different things like, okay, you can only get 10 properties on your personal and all this other stuff. So now it's like, okay, I want to buy a 3-unit. All right. The 3 unit was flowing. It's going well. I'm not, oh no, I got it.
In Seattle? That's in the market you're in. It's in Seattle?
No. So now I'm going out of state because I want to still be able to get the experience, but at a less cost basis, right? So I go to Chicago. I had a team of people already in Chicago. I mean, I went to Purdue. My best friend's a general contractor. I got people on the ground out there. So I go buy a 3 flat out there. Going great. But now we're renovating because I'm in the value add space, right? So now I'm like, this is gonna be my business model. We're renovating. Project takes
What does value add mean?
So value add basically is instead of waiting on appreciation, which most properties end up appreciating depending on market and different things like that, you're kind of forcing the appreciation up front. So you buy something distressed, buy it at a discount, then you have your general contractor go out there and kind of this is before you actually buy it, but you have your general contractor price out what it's going to cost to build it all the way out for you. And then you run your numbers as far as for rents, what you can get for rents, knowing what your expenses are going to be and all that different stuff. And you force appreciation. So as an example, on this property, bought it for $100,000, put another $200,000 into it. The value of it was $450 once it was done, right? So I added value and I forced appreciation. I'm in for $300, it's worth $450. But I also believe in cash flow. Cash flow is the name of the game for me. We talk about mailbox money. And you pay less taxes on cash flow than capital gains tax if you flip it, right? All things I had to learn over time. But so value add, bought that. 3 flat was going well. I'm like, oh, shoot, okay. Let's go even bigger. So then I buy a 12 unit. Same exact process or whatever. Then I bought a 56 unit. Then you know what I'm saying? So I'm gradually scaling, but I'm big, like I said, big on crawling before you walk, getting those experiences, learning from the second property that I bought with location. The third one, the 3 flat, learn from that. Like you got to make sure your timeline is on point because time is money in real estate too, because you got to pay the bank back, right? So then I learned that. Go to the 12 unit, like, okay, now I need a bigger team. Like I'm learning during the process. I'm still making money, but I'm learning on some of the flaws. But if I buy this 56 unit in a bad neighborhood for $5 million or whatever, like I'm screwed. You know what I'm saying?
That one's gonna hurt.
So like that's why I say crawl before you walk. You know what I mean? And I'm just big on that piece of the game.
No, were you building the team out with you? Because I mean, at that point, let's say 56, 12, 3. I mean, you're 70, 80 units. That's work. Like you got.
I'm about to ask the exact same thing. I'm like, that means you done grabbed a lot of people along the way.
No doubt. But I'm building my team out. So, okay, I'm going to go back to like I said earlier, right? Football has taught me a lot. I don't care if you got Matt Stafford. I don't care if you got Russell Wilson. I don't care if you got Peyton Manning, all these other guys, Drew Brees, all these guys, right? They're great at what they do. But if they ain't got those 5 guys in front of them blocking, we teeing off on them. I don't care how good they are.
Getting ate up.
Teeing off on them, right? So you need a team of people, right? Yeah. Like I was really good in Seattle because of my D line that I had next to me. I had Michael Bennett, I had Red Brown, I had all these other guys. Like I knew that, right? Richard Sherman would always do this. Like, bro, I appreciate you, bro. Like without you, I can't get these picks. Without you, bro, I can't get these sacks. You know what I'm saying? Like understanding that it's a real team dynamic, right? I bring that onto the real estate space. I understand my property management is extremely important. Like my property management is like my quarterback almost, right? My general contractor is like the O-lineman for them, right? So like it's a lot of correlations, and that's how I move. So if my quarterback isn't playing well, you got to get fired, bro. I need somebody to get me down the field because I'm trying to score touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So along the way, I built out my team. Whether again, you talk about property management, you talk about general contractors, you talk about brokers, you talk about lending agents, you build this team out of different people that help you get to the touchdown. And then the most important person that I've hired, she probably will watch this at some point, but the most important person that I hired was my assistant. Like now she's like the GM and I'm the owner. You know what I'm saying? Like she delegates a little bit more now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm big on team. And again, it's just something I learned from sports and football.
No, for sure.
Was that all while you're playing? You got to the 56 unit, or were you retired by then?
No, I'm retired by this point. So the first unit that I bought was as soon as I retired.
Got it.
Yeah, that was as soon as I retired. When I was playing, I was doing more syndications and funds.
Yeah. Got it. And then, so where is it today? What does your business world look like on the real estate side of things? I know you're doing a little bit of spec housing. I've seen some of the stuff on Instagram that you guys are built. It's high end spec housing, fair amount of risk, but a lot of meat on the bone there. You know, those markets, you know, there's some volatility attached to it, but I'd love to get your perspective on that. So how has the spec housing to kind of multifamily, more cash flow played out in your world?
So I'll give you the business structure, and then we'll talk about the spec houses in the luxury market and all that good stuff. So the business structure of what I've created was, because everything's been kind of somewhat self-funded. Now I have partners on a few different deals or whatever, but the business structure is we build spec homes and we flip those, we sell those, and then I take the proceeds from those and go buy multifamily properties to be able to get that cash flow that I'm looking for, right? But it is a process. I mean, it takes anywhere between 12 to 18 months to build a spec house. And then by month 12, I kind of know what the price point is going to be and all that good stuff. Now I'm starting to look for different assets to go purchase with the capital that I expect to get. And we tend to pre-sell everything too. So I kind of already know what the return looks like, right?
1031 exchange, Cliff? Will you 1031 exchange out of the spec?
You can't, because you got to hold on to it for more than a year or something like that and actually live in it once it's done and all that good stuff. So you can't do that. But where I get the tax break is cost segregation on my multifamily properties, right? And cost segregation essentially is it allows you to get the depreciation from your multifamily upfront in year one, right? So the depreciation and all the tax credits that I get from that actually offsets a lot of the profits that the taxes that I would have to pay on the spec homes, right? So that's kind of the business model. Flip those, go buy multifamily for the cash flow for the long haul. Something I'm gonna get to my kids at some point, hopefully, right? That's the name of the game. Now, the spec homes and the luxury component that you were talking about, we are definitely specific to one area. One area in particular is called Medina, Washington, Clyde Hill, and Bellevue. Now, if you Google these areas, Medina, Washington, Bill Gates lives there, Bezos lives there, like top dogs. Like these are like we talking about guys that are
trillionaires.
Yeah. These guys are they cutting the checks for the athletes. These guys, right? so they live in this area. So, and everybody wants the zip code to that area, and there's only so many lots, right? So from being insulated to a certain degree, when the market was hot and interest rates were low, things were flying off the shelf. Homes couldn't stay, like they're flipping them, right? But even when the market changes a little bit, because people want to be in this area, and the people that want to be in this area, they don't really care about interest rates. They'll just cut a check. They'll just cut a check. And when interest rates go back down, they just refinance and get their money back. Like that's the financial literacy component of it, right? So we've been fortunate enough, and I'm not going to wood somewhere in here, but we've been fortunate enough to like understand the market. I also live, I mean, not in Medina, but I live not too far from them or whatever. So I'm in the community. I'm meeting with brokers all the time. I'm seeing what properties are going for. And as an example, like homes sell in that area, brand new homes sell in that area for $1,500 a square foot. And we're talking about 70,000 square foot homes. You know what I'm saying? Now we're talking about 10, 12, $13 million homes. You know what I'm saying? And it costs you maybe $500, $600 a square foot to build it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of upside, and my team is extremely small. So if we got to take a haircut for 10, 12, 15%, like we're still good because we don't have a bunch of overhead. It's me, my business partner. His wife is a realtor, so we're getting we're getting discounts there, or we're not paying the agent the fees or whatever. My business partner is the actual builder. So, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of great synergy.
You got a lot of stuff in-house.
Yeah, everything's in-house, and we don't have a lot of overhead. So it allows me to be able to weather the storm if there is a storm in that market.
Just a quick disclaimer here. $10 million flips are probably not the place that you want to start your real estate journey. Just a quick beyond the game financial disclaimer.
Sure, look, you can. If you got $100 million, you got $100 million contract. $250 million contract, $10 million ain't nothing. You going to do that right now?
If you're Joe Burrow, if you're Joe Burrow and you want to do it, fine. It'll work out just fine.
It's the Joe Burrows too of the world.
I applaud you. Look, what you're talking about hits all the nails right on the head. Right, is having a market that you truly understand with a niche that you and your team understand, and that is a critical component of any business venture you're going. It can be real estate, it can be private equity. Metal fab companies, it doesn't matter, but a niche that you truly understand. And it came in time for you, right? It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go flip this
isn't
house.
My first flip either.
Right. Yeah. So I love that build up to okay, here's my model and this is what works for us. And where is that today? Like how many units under management in the Cliff Avril pantheon?
Cliff Avril Family Properties, we have right around $15 million of assets under management. And then, like I said, we only build one spec house every 12 to 18 months, like I said. And even along what you just said, I agree. Like everything has to make sense. Like I'm big on partnerships, right? But the partnership has to make sense too, right? So as an example of even on the spec house component of it, like I said, my business partner is a builder. He also is 50-50 partners with me in the project. So he has every incentive to make sure that we build for as least as possible and also make as much as possible, right? So like the deals have to make sense too, right? And like I said, I built my way up to, this is the biggest project I've ever done. But the first project was only 3,000 square feet. The second project was 4,000 square. This one's 6,600 square feet, right? So we're gradually building, but it's all about your team. And also, like you just said, knowing the market, understanding the market. I live in the area, so I know what's kind of going on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's been working, and hopefully I'm not regretting anything I'm saying here in the next 6 months when we sell it.
Cliff Avril, episode 2, bankruptcy and financial destruction.
Nah, it won't be that bad because I mean you're using the bank money and everything else, but it won't be that bad. The land by itself will cover up the charge, the value of what we put into it. So
yeah, no, most definitely. So in doing all this, obviously, you like you said, you in the community and all this stuff, and you have your foundation. It was Cliff Avril Family Foundation. Just kind of explain, kind of what you guys got going on and things you have up and coming, in the works and all that stuff as well.
For sure. Yeah. Cliff Avril Family Foundation. This is our 11th, maybe 12th year of being an organization. And we've done quite a few things. We've built schools in Haiti. We have healthcare, health clinics in Haiti, mobile health clinics in Haiti. I used to host a football camp out there as well for about 4 or 5 years where I would take Marshawn, Michael Bennett, KJ Wright, all these guys would go with me to Haiti to host a football camp. It's slowed down a little bit in Haiti because some of the government issues that they are having out there. But the main thing that we're focused on right now is we have what's called the Cliffs Crew. It's about 10 boys that I've been mentoring over the last 6 years. Started with them in the 3rd grade. Now they're all in 9th and 10th grade. And it's all about exposure. It's all about exposing to different opportunities and professions that are here in their own backyard. And I like to give the example all the time is like, if you look at the Seahawks facility, for example, when you think of the Seahawks, you only think of, the athletes. You only think of the football players. You think of the coaches maybe, right? But in that building, there's accountants, there's chefs, there's doctors, there's trainers. There's every profession you can think of that's in that building, right? But you don't know that if you're not exposed to that, right? And when we won the Super Bowl, guess what? Pretty much everybody in that building got a ring too because they played a role in everybody getting to the Super Bowl, right? So exposure is big to me. And so the Cliffs Crew, that's what that's about. And we also have Champions of Change, which is about this is Michael Bennett, Doug Baldwin, and myself. We all came together because we won a championship together. Not to rub
your face
like that.
We know you won. You keep on. You done said about 10 times now.
Yeah. I just like to let guys know because, as you know, dog, it's hard to win championships. Like we know great athletes that have played for 15 years that have never even made it to the Super Bowl, let alone win one. So
not even the Super Bowl, just making it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I played 9 years and went to the playoffs one time.
Man, yeah, that's tough.
And I know some people that have never went.
The only consistent variable there is you. Maybe that was the issue.
Hey, listen.
Nah,
That's why
that's the case
I
for
went
most
on
of
and
us,
got. I
though.
said, it got to be me. Lord, you don't want me to win this.
But that's the case for most of us, man. Like a lot of guys don't make it to that. But
Yeah.
getting back to champions change my fault. So yeah, Doug Ball, Michael Bennett, myself, we all partnered up together because we understand we can make a bigger impact together in the community. And Champions Change is all about basically we raise capital for grassroots organizations that are in the city of Seattle that don't get enough attention but are extremely important for the city. So we try to shed light on them to hopefully get more donors and get more visibility so they can grow and continue to make a bigger impact in the community. So we're doing a lot of that. We got a June 27th, I believe it is. We have a celebrity basketball game where we rent out the arena. And last year we had 6,500, maybe 7,000 people show up to the event, again, to shed light on these organizations and all for a great cause in the community.
Most definitely. No.
Congrats, man. That's got to be, take me to what you're most proud of. I mean, you mentioned the Super Bowl. I mean, I know you're probably proud of that. But when you think about kind of the different pillars of your life, what are you most proud of?
I mean, outside of obviously being a father, I think the biggest thing, honestly, is I feel like the NFL was a stepping stool to be able to go out and create and do for people. Serve. I'm big on serving. I'm big on giving back. I'm big on being able to be a helping hand. I feel like that's why God chose me to be able to be in the position that I'm in, right? So being able to go back to Haiti, where my mom's from, the first time she went back in like probably 15 years was with me to go build and open up a school. Like my mom didn't even get a chance to finish school in Haiti. So the fact that her son, a whole generation later, is able to go back to where she's from to be able to build and open up a school for 500 kids, like she started crying immediately. Like those types of moments, being able to go back and teach kids the game of football or whatever, like going back to Haiti, I think was probably one of the coolest experiences because my mom got to experience it and she gets to see it from a completely different lens than how she grew up in that country. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably one of my more proudest moments. And it just taught me to just continue to keep serving to people in my community here, but also wherever else I can be of help.
Awesome. No, that's.
I got two more questions, Alec.
Go ahead.
How will 47-year-old Cliff think? What will be different for you? Because look, let's put it in perspective. You've had an incredible athletic career, right? You're doing great stuff on the business world. Sounds like on the philanthropic side, you got it dialed, or you're working towards getting that dialed too. What happens in the next 10 years in your, like, when you chart that out, when you journal that out, what does this look like in 10 years for you?
Man, so I'm big on, and one of my quotes is, honestly, and I truly believe this, I feel like if Cliff Avril is only remembered as a football player, I failed. Right. And that's from a philanthropy standpoint, but also a business standpoint. By the time I'm 47, both of my kids will be out the house. So my goal is to be retired by then. But being retired means being able to have built out this CA Family Properties company and have that cash flow, that residual income that I was talking about, having that cash flow, being able to sustain my lifestyle, but also because one of the reasons I created this platform is for my friends and family to be able to invest alongside of me, for them to be able to have that financial freedom as well by the time I'm 47 years old. So that's my ultimate goal. That's where I'm at. I'm locked in. I'm focused. I'm building out my team. And I think those three things is kind of where I would like to be at by the time I'm 47.
Awesome.
It's a great goal. If it makes you feel better, I'm 44 next month and my kids are already gone. It's awesome, by the way. So,
oh man, yeah, don't rub it in. And I started early, so that's actually pretty dope.
we didn't do it on purpose, Cliff, but it worked out all right.
Yeah, no, it's kind of, I'm dreading it too, though, right? Because my oldest is 12, so I got 6 more years with him. You know what I'm saying? And then my youngest is 8, so I got 10 more. Like 6 years goes by fast. Like I'm already on my 6th year of being retired. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, that went by fast. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm trying to spend as much time with them, as much time with them as I build as well, because I know it's gonna go by fast. And once they leave, it's a high possibility they're not coming back. Or actually kind of don't want them to, I guess, in a sense, but it's a high possibility.
Tell your boy he doing well. Y'all saw you on your Instagram. Your boy, he telling him about the room, explain the room, detailing the room, tell he doing well. I appreciate that. I
appreciate it. Hey, you got to get the game back, man. You know, they will grow up different from us, so you got to get the game back as much as possible.
That's for sure. Well, before you go, where is it, you know, we always ask guys, you know, where can you be found at? What is Facebook, Twitter, X, or whatever it's called, Instagram, LinkedIn, you know, just kind of shout that out for everybody to kind of get in contact with you.
Yes, sir. So anything in the business space is all TikTok at Cliff Avril. That's where basically my whole thing with TikTok is just showing my journey from retired athlete to real estate investor, and just come on a journey with me. So that's my TikTok at Cliff Avril. And then I'm on Instagram as well. You can DM me there as well. And it's at Cliff Avril. And all the other platforms, I'm on them, but I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't really check them that often.
No, most
appreciate the honesty.
Definitely.
Cliff, a real pleasure. You are the definition of beyond the game.
Yeah.
Alec, that's what I was thinking while we were listening to the episode. I'm like, dude, it's a perfect beyond the game quip. So I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your journey with us. Congrats on the success thus far. I know you got a lot of success ahead of you, and what you've done thus far has been incredible.
Now, thank you guys, man. Alec, obviously, I'm a big fan of yours, bro. Been paying attention. You know, we've had our battles. You know,
yes, sir,
every defensive player knows every defensive player. Even if we don't know each other, we pay attention.
You know, especially you know, I always say if you doing good stuff, they gonna notice. You don't have no choice. So
congrats to what y'all got going on as well, man. Hopefully in about 2 or 3 years we come back on here. This is the biggest podcast, and I'm killing it in the real estate game and everything else, and you know, we'll continue to keep growing together.
Yes, sir. Most definitely appreciate you again.
Appreciate y'all again. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Game. Please like, subscribe, comment on your favorite platform. It helps others find the show.